Welcome to the WIHS Journal. On today's broadcast, we'll be talking to Phil Cook, the media producer, writer, and speaker and coach of his new book, Ideas on a Deadline. Well, today on the phone line, we have Dr. Phil Cook. He is the co-founder and CEO of Cook Media Group in L.A. Phil has produced media programming in nearly 70 countries and created one of the most influential, inspirational TV programs in history, and a client list that includes Hollywood studios, major nonprofit organizations, and the most respected churches and ministries in the world. And today we'll be talking about his latest book, Ideas on a Deadline, How to Be Creative When the Clock is Ticking. He's also been called one of the most innovative communicators of our generation. So thank you for being with us today on the broadcast, Dr. Cook.
Well, thank you. This is an honor. I'm having a great time.
Great. So let's talk about the book,
Sure.
Ideas on a Deadline. Where did you get the idea for, just even the title of this book?
Well, there's a lot of creativity books out there. Creativity is a very popular subject. Everybody loves it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there's not much on how to deliver great ideas under pressure. And as you know, more than anybody else, you have a radio program. You have to nail the clock every day. And so I just wanted to write a book. So many people today realize they're under a deadline, they're under pressure, they're under a time schedule. So I wanted to write a book that really helped people. My background, my whole career has been on the clock. So I just wanted to help people understand how to have breakthrough ideas on the clock.
Great. So why do you think that people struggle so much with deadlines?
Oh, I think a lot of it's fear. I think a lot of people are actually paralyzed with a deadline. But the truth is, a deadline can be the most freeing thing. I look at it like a roadmap. I suddenly understand when I have to prepare, when I have to research, and when I have to deliver. And when I know that, suddenly I can relax a little bit because I know what's coming. Now, the truth is, I love deadlines. I don't think I even start projects till I see the deadlines racing in the distance. But if you can learn to be comfortable with deadlines, which I talk about in the book, then it's amazing how much that releases you to do incredibly creative work.
Now, when you say you have to wait for that aha moment to happen, after all, that's true that is that true? You really can't rush to get great ideas?
Oh, it's not true. Actually, what I've discovered in my career and plenty of others and research supports, you don't have to wait for that aha moment. You don't have to, if you're doing watercolors on your back porch, then you don't have to turn them in or sell them, great. But if you have a real project that you need to deliver on time, you don't have to wait for that aha moment, that eureka moment. And I wrote the book really to give people a list of techniques and ideas and suggestions they can implement, they can use to trigger great ideas whenever they need them the most.
What are some techniques that we can use to generate ideas when you are under pressure?
Well, a lot of it is learning to say no. Very often, if we're trying to accomplish something significant with our lives, we're going to have to say no to a lot of other things, some which are good things. And you can do it in a nice way. You don't have to be a jerk about it. In fact, in the book, I list 4 or 5 ways to tell people, no, without making them feel bad or making, you look like a jerk. But we have to clear out some time in our schedule in order to reflect and be creative. Another thing I've discovered is walking, showers, driving in a car. There's a lot of situations where if you let your subconscious take over, suddenly connections start being made and ideas just start exploding. I'm a shower guy. I mean, as soon as that water hits me, the ideas start flowing. And I actually found a company called Aqua Notes they make waterproof legal pads, so I can actually write them down in the shower now, and my creativity's really gone through the roof.
Now, that's hysterical. I've never heard of a waterproof shower pad. Now I think I've heard of everything.
On the back to go in the tub.
That's hysterical. So what about dreams? Do people get powerful ideas in dreams?
Well, ancient writings of all kinds, including the Bible, talk about dreams and people getting important messages through dreams. And it's the biggest chapter in the book. I think it's really fascinating. And I don't really get full answers from dreams, but I often make connections in my subconscious that I would have never made when I was awake. And in the book, I talk about ways you can make that happen more often. You can actually control it to a certain extent. Well, a lot of people say they don't dream at all, but the truth is everybody dreams. Most people just don't remember them very well. But the truth is, if you can prepare when you go to bed at night and think of a few things, let them go through your mind that will get you in that mood, it's very often possible to help your dreams trigger connections and ideas and things you might never have put together when you were awake. And so dreams are a fascinating thing for me.
So what kind of feedback have you gotten from this book?
Oh, it's been fantastic. It's really been fantastic. And the reason, I think, is it's not just for creative people. It's for teachers and coaches and executives and leaders, pastors, whatever, because everybody has to deliver projects or products or presentations on a schedule. And I think once people learn to understand that and do it well, it really frees them up. And of course, creativity is the currency of this culture. Creative people are paid enormous amounts of money. They're highly regarded. And if you can really amp up your creativity, and by the way, there's no research that indicates some people aren't creative. Everybody's born creative, but it's like a muscle, and if we exercise it, it can grow.
So again, I am talking to Dr. Cook, Ideas on a Deadline. You are very creative. You're being so humble about your background because I read extensively. I looked you up on Facebook and Google. So tell our listeners a little bit about some of the stuff that you do.
Well, we have a production company based in a media production company based here in Los Angeles. And although we've done movies and television programs, we mostly focus on the nonprofit, the Christian audience, trying to help them tell their stories more effectively. And as a result, we've worked for organizations from the Salvation Army to the new Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., to a lot of international relief organizations. And we do short films, we do videos, we help them shape their message. I think the important thing is we live in such a distracted culture. And I think more than ever, if we're going to impact the culture in a positive way, we need to get that message right and use the media because that's the language people speak. And we want to really help organizations understand, and leaders, how to use media more effectively out there when they're sharing their message with the culture.
So you said this book would pretty much pertain to anybody?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even kids. I mean, everybody can grow their creativity. And everybody has to deliver under pressure. Even if you're a student, you have to deliver papers, and you have to come up with a great idea for a thesis, and you have to deliver that on time. So any of these techniques can be used in a variety of ways, not just with professional filmmakers or writers or designers, although they're going to love it, I can tell you, but I think anybody can benefit from it.
I always love to ask people who have been authors, what was the favorite part of your book in doing it and why?
You know what? I think in the research was fascinating for me because, as I said, things like dreams, I've always made notes by my bedside when I wake up in the morning and try to write down dreams and things. But when I started looking at the research and what really you can do, it's amazing. And great, brilliant people like Thomas Edison or artist Salvador Dali would actually take naps and would hold a couple metal balls in their hand, and when they nodded off, they'd drop the balls on a metal plate, and it would wake them up, and they'd quickly write down what they were dreaming about in those little brief moments. So different people have tried different ways to try to hack dreams, if you will, to try to be more productive and creative. And so learning about those things is really, really quite remarkable and interesting.
Good. I'm glad to hear that inspired you. Again, this is Dr. Cook, Ideas on a Deadline, How to Be Creative When the Clock is Ticking. Any other details that I missed about this book that you would like to convey to our listeners?
I just want to convey that two things. As I said before, everybody can be creative. And number two, there's no evidence whatsoever that we get less creative as we get older. In the book, I talk about artists who are extraordinarily productive in their 70s, 80s, even 90s. Certainly, there's some research that indicates we look at creativity a little different as we get older. But I'll tell you, no matter what age you are, you can reactivate creativity in your life and be quite remarkable. So I encourage people to do that. And this book talks about how to do that as an older person as well. So I just encourage people, we can all be more creative. And we don't lose it as we get older. If we stay active, if we stay plugged in and engaged, it can still happen.
Once again on the broadcast with us was Phil Cook, media producer, writer, speaker, and coach, and his newest book, Ideas on a Deadline. For more details, call WIHS at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. For WIHS, I'm Anissa Porticelli.